What's up, everybody? And welcome to the new show, Tale of the Tape, where we discuss MMA with a focus on UFC. We're going to be here every week. We're going to have a slot on public access television, so you get to watch us every week. We're also going to have our YouTube page. You're going to be able to check us out on our social medias, on Facebook, on Instagram, and on Twitter. But for right now, I'm going to introduce ourselves. First of all, you know me. You've seen me on my show. I got the End Zone, I have the Flex, and now we're on the Tale of the Tape. I'm Craig. I'm a big fan of UFC. I've been watching for many years. I'm going to say about 10 years I've been watching the UFC. I'm a pretty avid fan. But I brought on my boy here because he's more of an expert, and I'll let him introduce himself.
What's going on, everybody? My name's Mike Johnson, former kickboxer and mixed martial arts competitor. Like Craig said, also a fan of MMA my whole life, I mean,
Yeah.
you know, and just want to give you guys as much insight as I can, you know?
And that's what we're here to do. We're just going to give you the show from our point of view and let you know what we think, who we think's going to win, why we think that's going to happen, fighters that we like, fighters that we don't like, and why we don't like them. We'll give you updates on injuries and suspensions, and we're just going to give you as much information as possible. My boy Mike's also going to have a segment. We're going to be calling that Technique of the Week, where Mike will show you how to maybe take someone down, give someone a jab to the face, whatever it may come to.
Yeah, I'd like to focus that on, you know, maybe something that, you know, a fighter does in an upcoming event that, you know, he can use to win, or something he does well, or, you know, we'll see where it goes.
Exactly. So with that being said, we're going to jump into the show, and to kind of introduce ourselves, we're going to give you our favorite fighters as per weight class. So I'm going to start off from right in the bottom, the strawweight women's division, and that's 115 pounds. And I'm going to start off with my favorite strawweight fighter, Tatiana Suarez. And if you don't watch UFC as much as we do, Tatiana Suarez might have gone underneath the radar for you. She's 5'5". She's a wrestler with background in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and Muay Thai. But I really like Tatiana because of her overwhelming presence as a wrestler. She can really bring you to the ground, hold you there, and get you in a position to submit you. She does have relatively decent striking in order to get to that position. But I really like Tatiana Suarez. Right now, her record stands as 8-0, and she was the winner of season 23 of The Ultimate Fighter. This girl is dangerous. I think that she'll be next in line for a title shot. I think they might make her fight someone else. I believe she actually does have a fight coming up. I can't remember who against, but I think if she wins that, she gets an automatic title shot. Because this girl is now. Have you seen Tatiana Suarez?
I agree. Yeah, she's definitely on a tear. Her wrestling, like you said, and I think that's something that other strawweights don't have.
Correct.
Is an elite wrestling edge, you know.
The only one is like Claudia Gadelha.
Right.
And she does have a high-level wrestling, but Tatiana Suarez, I think, is on another level.
Right. I mean, you got to talk about the champ, you know.
Yes.
She's incredible. Thug Rose, you know, and her games all around. Beating Joanna like she did to become the champ is incredible.
And then winning a decision.
Absolutely. To go the distance showed that she is the real deal. And it's going to take a lot to take her off the mountain. And it's exciting with fighters like her, Suarez, to see what's going to be happening.
I actually like the fight she has coming up against Andrade. We'll talk about that one later, but that could be a great fight. I'd love to see how that goes. But Thug Rose, man, the thing I like about her is she came from down. Like she was a finalist in Tough Enough in her season of Tough Enough. Loses to I can't remember the girl's name, but the girl who was the first champ and then lost to Joanna Jędrzejczyk. She always has the colors in her braids.
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about, right? I think she's Brazilian. So I like that she lost to her. Then she came and lost another fight, and that's when she shaved her head.
And came back and took her career to a different level. You know, recentered herself and is better every time now. You know.
She's an amazing fighter.
Yeah, I don't see her getting knocked off.
No.
It's going to take something special.
real, and and that, oh man, I can't wait to see if she gets to fight Tatiana. If she wins this fight and has to fight Tatiana Suarez, that might be one of the best female fights that we might see, because I know that Thug can handle herself on the ground.
Absolutely.
What she did to 12 Gauge Page,
Her submission game is incredible.
incredible.
I love how much she moves, how active she is on the ground. She never stops. Scrambles so hard.
Focused.
Yeah, and always thinking 5, 10 moves ahead, like, and never stops.
Yeah, she's just such a poised fighter. I'm excited, and she's so young, so like she has so much more fight left in her. I feel like we're gonna see Thug Rose for a long time to come.
Absolutely, absolutely.
All right, so now I will move on to the women's flyweight division, 125 pounds. And my favorite fighter in this weight division, I don't want to say I picked my favorite fighter. I wanted to say I more picked a fighter that I can't wait to see what they do in the UFC. She's got a fight coming up in either the next pay-per-view or the next fight night, but Sijara Eubanks.
Wow.
Sijara Eubanks was in the last season of The Ultimate Fighter.
Yeah.
And she should have been in the finals against Montana. But she got hurt right before the fight.
She had the injury.
Exactly. So she's 5'3", Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. Her record's not impressive. It's 4-2, but that's because she's an up-and-coming fighter. But she was ranked one of the lowest fighters in Tough.
Yeah.
And then came in to be the finalist. I can't wait to see what she does.
I think the flyweight division is very interesting. The champ, Shevchenko, she's great.
Yeah.
But, there's a lot of the up-and-comers because it's, a newer division, being that small. And I'm excited to see what we get, new fighters coming in. Not many fighters have been able to fight at that weight class.
Exactly.
A lot of them have been straw weights. And it's exciting. I mean, Shevchenko's the big fighter in the weight class, but...
And a dominant fighter in that weight class.
Very much so. And
I mean, I feel like she gave, in her former weight class, she gave Amanda Nunes the best competition.
And that says a lot, because Amanda Nunes is a killer.
Yeah. And I almost would say this, and I wonder if you would agree with me, if you remember that fight. Had Shevchenko been the champ in that fight, and Amanda Nunes came in, might that fight gone the other way?
Oh, absolutely.
Because they always give close decisions to the champ.
I think, decisions are terrible.
Yeah.
Split decisions are the worst thing ever. And the champion, it tends to lean their way.
Exactly. And that's how good I think Shevchenko is that she might be the only person who, if given an opportunity, could possibly take down Amanda Nunes. But if she had been the champ in that fight, I definitely think it could have went her way.
I agree with that. And she pushed her to somewhere that nobody else pushed her.
Yeah.
And that says quite a bit. And it wasn't even her natural weight class.
Exactly. So I think that there's a strong chance that Shevchenko holds on to this belt for quite some time.
Yeah.
Because that girl, I wish I could remember her whole name, Montana, the girl who was actually the champ, and her belt getting stripped was weird. Yeah. I don't remember the exact reason why, but it was a weird stripping of her belt to give it to Shevchenko if she won that fight. But I would like to see the two of them go up against each other to see who should be the champ.
And like I said, we'll see, more people flooding the division because, most of them had to fight at Straw or, the women from the Ultimate Fighter.
Yep.
And I think we're going to get a lot more fighters in the lighter division in the women's.
And I'm excited because they've added 2 weight classes. We only had 1, and then 2. Now they've just added 2 more weight classes, which means we're going to see a lot more female fighters. And I personally am a fan. Like, I love to see girls getting gritty and not caring about their face and their makeup, getting messed up, just going in the ring and giving it their all. Like, one person that always impresses me about that is 12 Gauge. Yeah. Because she seems like the type, she seems like the girly girl. But when she's in that ring, man.
Oh, yeah, these are competitive athletes who train their whole lives, it doesn't matter. They just like combat.
Exactly. And it's crazy, man, just to see all these women coming into combat. Another one, the Karate Hottie, started off as a ring girl. Yeah. And now she's one of the top fighters in her division. All right, now we're gonna move on to men's flyweight. Once again, still 125 pounds, and I think we're gonna hit the same page on this one.
Probably.
Demetrius Johnson.
Yeah.
You know, he's not in the UFC anymore. He got traded to ONE.
Right.
But at the end of the day, you can't talk flyweight, you can't talk UFC, MMA, combat sports without bringing up Demetrius Johnson.
Absolutely. I don't even know if we've seen the likes of his skill set since he left. I mean, an all-around fighter like him, his speed, his skill,
Yeah.
his, consummate work level. It was incredible to see Cejudo beat him, honestly.
You know, let's talk about that for a second.
Okay.
That fight bothered me because I feel like we didn't get Mighty Mouse in that fight.
No, I can agree with that. And it's hard to tell how much of that is from Cejudo, staunching him.
Yeah.
But I just don't like the reaction after that he just said okay and left the promotion.
Yeah, there was just. Well, I don't know if it was his choice. I know that he was traded. Did he request the trade?
There's quite a few politics, but
Yeah.
I mean, when you're the top dog of a division, does Dana White really want to get rid of you?
True.
That doesn't make sense to me.
But it does make maybe it's a strategic move because Demetrius Johnson can't, it was like he couldn't be beat. And I will say this is the one thing I want to give Henry Cejudo, is the first fight he got caught.
Yes.
So maybe we would have seen a similar fight, that first fight, if Cejudo didn't allow himself to get caught, or maybe getting caught made Cejudo up his level. Because after he got beat by Mighty Mouse, he then went and got beat by Joey, the guy who he coached Tough Enough with. Benavidez.
Yes, Joe Benavidez.
Joe Benavidez.
Who is about the only other contender at the weight.
Exactly.
I also don't think you can let a caliber fighter like Mighty Mouse go when the weight class isn't that bolstered. I think there might be less contenders at men's flyweight than there is at women's right now.
Well, I think flyweight is the least competitive division. You have 3 guys who dominate the division, and then you have everybody else.
Right.
So, I mean, it's a tough division. They need to find a way to bulk that up.
And it might just
I don't know
be,
if they can.
a matter of time, like the women's division, where we can get more guys coming in. You've seen the likes of T.J. Dillashaw dropping down. Maybe we'll have more guys coming from bantamweight, but that might hurt their division.
Yeah, I don't know what can happen in that division, but something needs to give.
Yeah.
All right, so now we will move on to women's bantamweight division, which is 135 pounds, and I think I would be surprised if we differed in this one.
Yeah.
You got to have Amanda Nunes.
Yeah.
Set a record of 17-4, 5'8". She has a boxing background, Brazilian jiu-jitsu, judo, and much a surprise to the both of us, capoeira.
Capoeira background.
Yeah, I would like to see her pull out some of that stuff in the ring, in the octagon.
You don't see her throw too many kicks.
No.
But, I mean, it's a heavily kick-based style. I mean, there's devastating leg kicks.
Yeah.
I would like to see that from her. It would open her game up a lot more. Her right hand is obviously her devastating weapon. And it deals with every opponent that she's faced.
Yeah, with an exception for Shevchenko.
Right.
She's really just blown everybody out.
If she could, add more facets to her game, that's scary.
And it seems like she just doesn't have to.
Right.
Because I've never seen her have the struggle on the ground. Or I know that the one time she did get taken to the ground, she got beat by Kat Zingano. Kat Zingano submitted Amanda Nunes. So I don't know what her ground game is at this point. But, if you your striking game is so great that people just can't handle it.
Right. I think she has ultra confidence in that power of that right hand. And she's not worried about taking a shot as well.
She doesn't have to wait to set up.
She comes straight in.
A fighter I hate to watch, I think a lot of us now hate to watch, Tyron Woodley, because he waits to he's waiting for that punch, where Amanda Nunes forces that punch to happen.
Absolutely.
She fights to get it, where Tyron Woodley will sit back for it. That's the thing I love about her, is she's attacking.
I think her matchup coming up with in July with Holly Holm is could be a real test for her. You know, but we'll talk about that when we get there. Obviously.
That could be one of the fights of the year.
Amanda Nunes, far and wide the best bantamweight women's fighter out there.
The Lioness, she's so exciting. And one thing that makes me mad, and from a not necessarily, it's still a fighting standpoint, but from the promotion side, I feel like she's, as dominant. She beat the best girl next door, face of the UFC's women division, Ronda Rousey, and she beat her in embarrassing fashion.
Right.
Then she goes up against arguably what people thought was the best female fighter in the UFC, Cyborg, and dominates.
Right, not just UFC. She was regarded as the best female mixed martial artist, I mean, across the globe.
And
nobody's seen that happen.
And she made it look like nothing. She walked through her. And so I'm like, you know what? I did rewatch that, though. She did have a lot of wild misses.
Right.
But I think that was just the nature of their attack against each other.
And Cyborg throws quite sloppy as well.
Yeah.
So I felt with that fight, it was, whoever
lands.
First,
yeah. But how strong is Amanda's chin?
Right.
She you look at that jawline, it does look strong.
We've seen her take some shots from Shevchenko. Shevchenko's not exactly a super powerful puncher.
Exactly.
But like I said, the Holly Holm matchup I think will be a big test.
Yes.
Yeah.
If she can withstand Holly Holmes, and if she can do to Holly Holmes what she did to everybody else, it's over for the bantamweight division.
Absolutely.
But I think that fight goes the distance. But we'll talk more about that.
And I mean, Nunes with being a two-weight champ, that has to be said too.
Yes. And I think one of the few two-weight champs, because we've had a few of them that might be able to consistently defend on both sides.
Yeah.
Because most champs, I don't think that they have the ability to consistently defend both belts.
Right. I think it's too hard to cut in between weights for a lot of people, and I don't think it's a problem for her.
Nope.
I mean,
and she went up. Like a lot of people, some people will go down to get a second belt. She went up. That's impressive. I really love this girl, man. I can't wait to see what the future holds for her.
Very excited.
All right, now we are going to move on to the men's bantamweight division, continuing at 135. And for me, my personal favorite is the likes of Aljamain Sterling, 5'7", with a wrestling, Muay Thai, and Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu background, the Funk Master. I really like this dude. He kind of reminds me of somewhat like of a Young Bones. They actually did wrestle together in college, and that was the inspiration for him to come into the UFC. Remember him saying that? But I just like him. He's a fun and exciting fighter. You're not going to get a boring fight with Aljamain Sterling.
I think Aljamain, once he maybe puts things together a little more, I think he could be the next bantamweight champion in the men's division. He gets better and better all the time. Like you said, the wrestling background, I think the wrestling background has got to be the best basis for any mixed martial artist. And
there is no better.
Whenever you can incorporate a dynamic striking style on top of that, as like Bones Jones, that's a recipe for success.
Exactly. And all the best, in almost every division, all the best have some type of wrestling background.
Absolutely.
You have a handful that don't, but like most of the best and some of the best of all time have that wrestling background.
And I think a lot of it comes with just the way your body builds over the years of training wrestling. Your core muscles, your lower back, it's a different type of strength than, doing jiu-jitsu or any other type of grapple, and it really sets you up nice, for other martial arts styles.
Yeah, it's crazy.
I think, if you're talking in the bantamweight too, you got to give the nod to TJ Dillashaw's success, although, I don't know when we'll ever see him again, and rightly so, after what he pulled.
For those of you that don't know, we're going to give a little insight on TJ Dillashaw.
Even though he vacated the title to move down.
So, I don't think he necessarily wanted to vacate. I think he just wanted to be a two-title champ. And then when he got in trouble, he vacated the title voluntarily, knowing he was going to be stripped anyway.
I thought I read something that he had vacated it
ahead of time?
Or at least ahead of the positive test.
Oh.
So I think he knew.
Because he knew what was coming down.
Yeah, so I'm not sure.
TJ Dillashaw, unlike Bones, who, even though we don't like what happened with Bones, you're a professional, you need to make sure you know what's going into your body. But with Bones Jones, when Bones Jones tested positive for banned substances, it was unknowingly to him. And they even said on the panel that they believe that when Bones Jones took these banned substances, that he did do it unknowingly. He did get suspended for it, but then, was able to come back and do his thing. But with TJ Dillashaw going up against Henry Cejudo, he actively used banned substances in order to win. And I think you said he injected it.
Yeah, and he doesn't deny it after the fact. So
he admittedly apologizes that he did this because he wanted to be the best and he was obsessed with being the best. So much so that he was willing to cheat. And in my opinion,
it's pretty sad because, he's probably the most successful bantamweight in the division ever. And, I mean, it really thins out the division, too.
And I liked him, I liked TJ Dillashaw, not just TJ Dillashaw, the fighter. I liked him as a person, and he's completely destroyed his image, in my opinion, in my eyes. I think he's destroyed his complete image and his respect. Let's say you get a 2-year ban. If you come back, I don't even want to see you fight.
Yeah, after something like that, it's hard to come back for the fans, and it makes you wonder what he might have been doing and getting away with before.
Yeah, because they don't always test every fighter every time. It's usually random. How many times did he get away with it? Did he get away with it when he beat Cody?
Right. It makes you wonder the legitimacy of his victory over Garbrandt. Yeah. Absolutely.
So I'd actually like to know. Maybe I'll even do the research to find out if he did get drug tested during either one of those fights. But it just really sullies your whole name. It makes us not believe that you are the fighter who you were, and it sucks because I love UFC and I respect what these men do. People are putting their bodies and their minds on the line, as well as their personal feelings about yourself. When you lose, that's a demoralizing victory. And sometimes it's not when you have that great fight. It either goes to a decision or you get caught. That might not demoralize you, but sometimes you put in 6-10 weeks worth of 2 months worth of training, and then you get beat real quick. Absolutely. And that is demoralizing. So people are putting their bodies on the line. And if he would have won that fight against Henry Cejudo, and you find out that he used, now that's even worse. But I think it's funny that he did do all that and got his ass handed to him.
And then he just get knocked out.
Yeah, so it didn't even work out for you, bro.
It just goes to show how silly it is to do it anyways, because it doesn't guarantee you anything.
Because steroids do not stop you from getting knocked out, bro.
No, they definitely don't increase your fortitude.
Exactly. No. So, maybe you should have had a steel plate put in your jaw or something.
And it upsets me the most because, as I said, the bantamweight division is real thin now.
Yeah.
I mean, you got Garbrandt, who knows what he's going to do.
Yeah, and then, why can't I say his name? The other dude, the one who TJ hates. Everybody from Dominic.
Dominic Cruz.
Dominic Cruz.
He's sitting behind the desk now.
Yeah, man. You know what? It makes me mad, too, because I like him.
And he still could have years, and I thought he was incredible, honestly.
Yeah.
I think Cody Garbrandt just found the best way to beat him.
And the best way to beat him was to let him come to you.
Right.
And that's what Cody figured out, and that's what TJ couldn't figure out. Right. Same thing with the California kid. Why can't I say his name either?
Uriah Faber.
Uriah Faber. You know what I'm saying? Neither one of those guys could figure out. You got to make Dominic come to you, and that's what Cody did. All right, so now we're going to move on to the women's featherweight division, 145-pound. Now, this is a division that is slim. Yeah. I feel like there's maybe 8 girls in this division, and I could probably only name 4 of them.
Yeah, I feel like it was created for the super fight of Cyborg and Nunes, because it would be good to see more fighters go into it, because I think there are larger women that are trying to cut to bantamweight.
Yeah. They have that girl, Francis, or whatever, the girl who fought Holly Holmes and won it and then wouldn't fight Cyborg, so she got stripped. So you have her and Cyborg, Holly Holmes, and now Amanda Nunes.
Right.
So those are the only 4 I can think of right now.
Yeah, and again, another division like the flyweight needs to be bolstered by talent. And it's exciting to see who we got coming up. But you know, Nunes holding the belt. You know.
You know what? For this one, just to kind of switch it up, I went with Holly Holmes because I think Holly Holmes is an incredible fighter. She broke the lock on the Ronda Rousey trivia box. You know, no one could figure that out, and Holly Holmes figured out that if you punch her in the face, she can't fight anymore. And that was probably one of the most awesome victories I've seen. I was a huge Ronda Rousey fan. I'm not going to deny it. And to see her lose in that way, you know, as a fan of hers, it sucked. But like as a fan of fighting, you were
As
just
a fan
like,
of fighting,
wow.
absolutely, because Ronda Rousey's name, you know, has to go down in the women's division.
Yeah.
Simply because of what she's done for the UFC. None of these women that we spoke of would be getting their time in the sun without.
We
what she
wouldn't
did.
have 4 women's divisions without Ronda Rousey.
so-
And it was Ronda Rousey as a total package. I actually talked about this with one of the guys in the studio yesterday, was that, you know, Ronda Rousey had the total package. She had the look, she had the charm, and the fighting ability, you know, where someone like Amanda Nunes isn't necessarily.
I was just gonna say, you don't see her get much PR.
Exactly.
You know, it's
And it's crazy because she's such a great fighter. She doesn't get her recognition because she doesn't have the girl next door look.
right.
And that's one of the things I don't necessarily like. I get it from a business standpoint. I get it, but I don't like it. You gotta bring up all your fighters, and you gotta make
and
sure
I think,
they
you
get
know,
in.
if a person is successful, give them their time in the camera, you know, because it opens up the avenues outside of the fighting game,
Exactly.
you know.
And Amanda Nunes was the champ when she fought Ronda Rousey. I think she was the champ at that point because she had beaten
Was it
the girl who couldn't beat Ronda.
Misha Tate?
Misha Tate. She beat Misha Tate. She beat the bag out of
She
Misha
did.
Tate. And then
Yes, because Misha was the title holder when she took it from Holly.
Holly Holmes,
Yes.
who took it from Ronda.
Yeah.
So then she gets that title. Now she's got to face Ronda. And if you remember when they did that, when they promoted that fight, it was all about Ronda.
Oh, yeah.
They never even showed Amanda Nunes' face.
Even in the hype up to it, and the fights previous didn't really say that Ronda would win that fight.
Yeah.
But somehow
Seeing as Amanda Nunes was a high-level striker,
all the marketing went to Ronda Rousey.
yeah, craziness.
Right.
So sometimes I think they're making bad decisions over there when it comes to promoting their fighters. But like I said,
Some people don't want to be in front of the camera too, I think.
yeah, maybe.
Because Holly Holmes strikes me as that type too, who's, you know,
Yeah, she's not a camera
not
person.
great in the interview. Some people just, you know, they just want to be there to fight.
Yeah.
The fame,
And that's all they care about.
the fame really isn't part of it, you know.
So we'll see what happens with their futures. All right, and now we're on to the men's featherweight division, which is, I think, one of the more exciting divisions
And
in
has
the
been
UFC.
for some time.
Yeah, there's a lot of great fighters in this division. You do have one guy who just stands at the top of the mountain and has been exceptionally difficult to defeat, and that's my favorite, Max Holloway, with a 20-3 record, the champ. 5'11", kickboxer, Muay Thai, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. I love Max Holloway, and I've liked him before he became the champ, before he was on his run to become champ. I always thought there was something special about that kid.
I absolutely agree. I think Holloway is by far the best fighter in the featherweight division. Great individual as well. You know, great character. I love to see that as from a title holder. And to see what he went through in his UFC career with the, you know, the losses, you know, the early losses, and then to just keep improving and keep improving. He always kept his head up, and he's getting what he deserves.
I think as a fighter, he keeps the fight in the ring. Like, he's humble outside the ring, but then when he gets in the ring, I love that cockiness.
Yeah, there's
you
a
know?
switch that turns.
Yeah, he has a small sprinkle of like a Nate Diaz, but without going too far.
Right.
You know, I really like that.
He doesn't want to disrespect his opponent for no reason.
Exactly. You know? Yeah, and he just goes in and I feel like one of the things I like about him is he doesn't underestimate an opponent.
Absolutely.
He doesn't go into the ring with just like, I'm the best, whatever, like a Conor McGregor. Conor McGregor has definitely underestimated opponents and has been the reason for his downfall. He just...
Or overestimate himself.
Yes.
Max is very confident in his ability and knows what he's able to do, but he's very smart in his later career now, you know. as a champ, and he fights real disciplined. Used to just throw bombs,
Yeah.
you know, and not care about trading and getting hit. But now he's a completely different fighter.
And he's become a more well-rounded fighter.
Absolutely.
He has good takedown defense,
Yep.
good ground game himself.
I think his takedown ability is something that is not talked about much because he doesn't use
He doesn't.
it as
He
much,
doesn't
you know?
normally have to use
But
it.
he can hold you on that fence and tear you down on the ground, and it's just another way for him to beat on you.
Correct.
you
He
know?
can grind you out. I love that. And I like what he did against Poirier.
Yeah.
You know, you went up in weight class in a fight against a dude that was visibly significantly bigger.
Clearly larger than you.
Yeah.
I mean, they could have stepped in the ring at a 25-pound difference in muscle.
Yep.
I mean,
And I just think that,
and Poirier hit hard at 145 pounds. You know,
and so to go up in weight class,
Absolutely.
and that, like, Holloway took damage, and he took damage that you saw him get rocked,
Yeah.
but pressed forward. And I think that might have been his mistake. I think his need to press forward and to be the guy trying to make the action happen might have been the reason why he lost that fight. Instead of sticking and then getting out, because Poirier only was able to come down on him when he stayed in the pocket for too long.
I agree with that. Poirier seemed to land on the third or fourth punch when they were exchanging.
Yeah.
And Max a volume striker. You know, Max doesn't have that big one-shot power
Yeah.
to put you out, but he beats you with cumulative damage, and Poirier can take a shot too.
And he could take on a lot of damage. And he proved that. I was impressed by Poirier's ability to take damage because that hasn't always necessarily been his game.
Absolutely, and I think he's found his home at that weight, and that's the main reason why. And he just that power, I think it was just the story in that fight,
Yep.
pretty much.
Yeah, I was half disappointed and half like in love with that fight because I like Max Holloway and I'm not necessarily a Poirier
But he's not
fan.
a lightweight. I
Yeah,
mean,
no.
Holloway,
Holloway just wanted that extra belt, He just wanted that notoriety.
I mean, and that right there, like you said, you got to give him props just to try to step up and just to go for the two-weight.
And he didn't just try it; like he put forth a valiant effort to where it went to a decision. Granted, I believe it was unanimous.
It was unanimous, but it's closer than the card said.
Exactly.
Yeah, it was definitely closer
Exactly.
than what the card said.
Yeah, it wasn't no 10-8 rounds here. We were looking at an incredible fight, and I think, to be honest with you, I wouldn't be surprised if he tries it again.
If he tries it again,
Yeah,
I don't see
I would
why
not be surprised.
He probably is in the drawing room right now figuring out what it would take.
What it would take and what he did wrong. If you're listening here, Max Holloway, stick and move.
Right.
Don't stay in the pocket. All right, now we have no more women's divisions after this point. Although I would love to see women get this big, to be lightweight. But in the lightweight division, another division. I think at this point we have the divisions become more diverse. You do have a lot of talent in these upcoming divisions, and one of the better divisions is the lightweight division. A lot of great fighters in here, but I'm gonna start off with my personal favorite, Justin Gaethje. Now, and maybe saying he's my personal favorite might be a little bit of a stretch, but I like what he's bringing to the UFC.
Absolutely.
A wrestler who doesn't wrestle.
Yes.
Like his thing is he wants to put on a show for the fans. And there's something respectable in that you're going to put yourself on the line and you're going to stand in front of a guy and go toe-to-toe with him knowing that you have a weapon that you can use to beat him. And you're saying, nope, I want to give the fans what they want to see. And they don't want to see us on the ground. They want to see me putting my fist in your face.
Absolutely. Super exciting guy. He's one of my favorites for sure. Like you said, he's a wrestler who doesn't use his wrestling somehow. He likes to excite the fans, throws real hard punches,
And leg kicks.
Has knockout power on the kicks and the punches. And I think, he's got it in his head that if he gets in trouble, then I'll grapple you,
Yeah. And I think he's only ever been in trouble like twice. I know he was in trouble when he lost to Why am I having trouble with everybody's name? The dude who lost the belt to Conor in the lightweight. Yep, that guy.
Rafael dos Anjos.
No.
No.
Alvarez.
Eddie
Alvarez. There we go.
Eddie
Yes.
Alvarez, yeah.
We're going to get it.
My apologies.
We're going to get it.
First show, people. Don't worry.
Yeah. Give us a little bit of a break. But yeah, no, I like it. In 20-2 record, you know, most of that's outside of the UFC. Pretty much 75% of that is outside of the UFC. But I think he's coming in and he's really just, you know, showing the UFC what he's capable. And it seems like he's growing.
Right.
You know, after that loss to Eddie Alvarez.
A lot of fights for a guy his age, you know.
Yeah.
So he's got a ton of experience, a ton of time more left in the UFC. I'd be remiss without talking a little bit about Poirier a little more in the lightweight because I think his future's pretty bright. I think he finally found his weight class, you know, after moving around. He, like Max, you know, went through his tribulations, losing early in his career. In
a lot
his
of
UFC
knockouts too,
career,
getting caught.
yeah, getting hit with, you know, a good shot because he liked to exchange, but he's fighting a lot smarter. He's got great power for 155 pounds, great range, and yeah, I like him, and he could be the champ for a while.
And you know, with that being said,
it leads to exciting championship matchups at lightweight too.
I would love to see our favorites.
Oh yeah.
Boom, head to head
for
a title match.
Title fight.
Because, you know, I think it's only going to be another 6 months before Khabib comes back, you know, from his suspension, you know, the whole situation that happened with Conor McGregor. So Justin Gaethje and Dustin Poirier, I think that could be a matchup.
Yeah.
That could be dangerous.
Absolutely.
You
Two
know?
big power punchers that have other skills
and
too.
both have wrestling in their repertoire. So I would love to see that little matchup. So you heard it here. We all want to see Justin Gaethje versus Dustin Poirier for the lightweight belt.
Absolutely.
So now we have the welterweight division. Once again, a stacked weight class, full of talent. And I thought I would go with a fighter. Been out for a little bit, has a lot of grit, fights with a lot of heart, and can be an exciting fighter, good puncher. Jorge Masvidal.
That's great.
33-13. I like this guy a lot.
Another super veteran, a guy who's not old, but has a ton of fights under his belt. I mean, he's fought everywhere under the sun that you could think of. I mean,
he's not a pushover.
Including on Kimbo Slice's street fight tapes and stuff.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Masvidal been everywhere.
Wow. You know what impressed me the most is his most recent fight. He had a layoff for like over a year, hasn't fought, comes in against Stephen Wonderboy Thompson. Stephen Wonderboy has fought for the belt twice in the last like 3 years.
Deservingly as
well.
Yeah,
and deservingly. Like, everybody thought Stephen Wonderboy was going to be the future of the division. And, you know, the fight between him and Tyron Woodley, you know, anybody can say what they want. It was a chess match. They're not exciting fights, but Tyron Woodley fights are never going to be exciting unless he gets an opportunity to knock you out. But he goes up against Stephen Wonderboy Thompson, the one-time future of the division, and knocks him clean out in a fight that looked like he might lose.
Yeah.
And then
I agree.
Catches him. And it wasn't like some random, unthought about haymaker punch.
No, he knew he was in trouble.
It was a setup.
He knew he was in trouble. He was losing on the scorecard, and he had to pull out something big. But with experience like he has, you know what I mean, you know, in situations like that. And it's good to see him at the top of the tier, you know, because I've followed him for quite some time.
Yes.
And
I've liked him since
great.
The moment he came into the division. And it's weird, like, you know, he used to have like not the short hair, but he had like a shorter cut. And now it almost doesn't. Now he had long hair. It almost looks like he looks like a different fighter. Yeah. He's come in and he's going to revive his craft.
When I first used to watch him back in the day, he had.
He had the long hair.
He had the long hair.
So that's his normal.
So he's going back to it.
So he's going back to the fighter he once was and getting back to his roots. And I'm excited that he's back.
I think that's why he's being successful too. Yeah. You know, he's going back to his striking, because he had a stretch where he was, you know, trying to grapple a lot with guys, but he's a great Thai fighter, and he needs to use that.
And I think he does have some of the best striking in the division.
Fantastic striking. So, and I think we'd be remiss if we didn't mention Kamaru Usman, you know, the new title holder.
Yes.
Tyron Woodley was, you know, I don't want to, you know, put him down, but maybe a boring fighter, let's say.
I say that Tyron Woodley,
fighter.
He fights not to lose instead of to win.
Which is not terrible.
Yeah.
You gotta keep yourself healthy. You don't want to be injured, and you want to keep winning.
Yeah, you want to keep that record up.
But that meant it was going to take something special to beat him, because he was, whether you're intent on winning or not losing.
Yep.
You know, and Usman really pulled something out.
And he had nothing to lose. Usman had nothing to lose.
And he just went for it. I mean, I love his style overall. I mean, he mixes so many things in.
It was he made Tyron Woodley look like a weak fighter.
And that's pretty insane.
Yes.
You know.
And because especially like we know how fast Tyron Woodley
right.
is.
To see Usman beat him to the punch in the exchange was insane. And to see him, you know, put his body on him and be able to muscle around Tyron Woodley.
How? That is crazy
was shocking
to me.
Too, because I don't think we've seen anybody be able to hold Tyron Woodley even against a cage, let alone on the ground. I mean,
I would like to add to that, one of the best grapplers in UFC, Damian Maia. He gets his hands on you, and that's the end of the discussion. Right. And Damian Maia could not bring down Tyron Woodley.
Not great wrestling from Maia, but I mean, he had so many tricks to wrap you up, take you down off the cage.
Yeah.
You know, so many different styles of trips, and he tried over and over for 5 rounds and couldn't
manage nothing. And that's another fight that just proves how Tyron Woodley only fights not to lose.
Right.
He had so many moments in that fight where it was obvious that if he attacked, he could have just bombed on him.
I would like to give to Woodley some credit because I think he's an incredible athlete.
Yeah.
I mean, he's got some great tools. He wasn't champ for no reason.
Yep.
And I mean, he defended it pretty well.
Yep.
I'd like to see him reinvent himself. I think he maybe got to get out of his own head or something, you know, to try to remember why he wanted to fight in the first place, you know, and go out there and have some fun.
Yeah, because I mean, that the Tyron Woodley we see now isn't the Tyron Woodley that knocked out homeboy to get the belt.
He was throwing bombs.
Yep.
He was trying to slam you. He wanted to make it exciting. He wanted to hurt you.
And then that completely stopped once he got the belt.
But
I mean, with Tyron,
he's not done.
No.
You know, he could easily.
He shouldn't be done. He's young.
I think he should get right back in the gym and reinvent himself, and he can be right back in the top 3. You know.
You know, I could be wrong about this, but I almost want to see Woodley go up a division because of his size. He won't have the height in that division, but I think his speed would become even more would even still be a factor in that division.
Absolutely.
And I would almost like to see what that would look like because I don't know if he has anything.
He does seem big, a big frame.
Usman.
You know, he's got quite a bit of muscle on him. I think he would have to reinvent himself to get that belt back from Usman.
100%. I almost don't see it happening, but it would be nice.
It would be nice to see. Yeah.
All right, so now we have the middleweight division, which in some instances can be the best division in the UFC, next to light heavyweight. And in that division, I don't know if we'll be the same, but I think we might be. And I have Israel Adesanya.
Yeah, I don't think anybody's on the same dynamic level as the Style Bender.
No, the Style Bender, yes.
You know, you got a lot of powerful middleweights, and he's probably not one of them. You know, probably doesn't possess the punching power of a Whitaker. You know, but his speed and his diverse attack is incredible.
Yes.
I mean, he hits you from all angles, standing on the floor. It doesn't matter. You know,
it's like a combination of Anderson Silva and Bones Jones. Not at that level yet, I don't believe. I believe he has a long way to go to get to have that actual notoriety. But I think he shows flashes.
Absolutely. I think, you know, he's a young guy who is still growing into his body even, you know, and I think, you know, a couple more years on him and his power will be greater, you know, because
Yep.
he'll get into the prime of his age, and I think we're going to see big things from him. I
Yeah.
mean,
And I think the ultimate test was his last fight against Kelvin Gastelum, proving that he can be put in an uncomfortable situation
Absolutely.
and still come back and overcome that adversity. And that's what I really loved about him. I thought that, you know, he was that guy who was just beating people easily and making quick victories. And then he goes up against Kelvin Gastelum, a guy who you're not going to just put down,
No.
who's not going to just get knocked out,
Right.
not going to get bullied. And he put him to the test.
Absolutely.
And I think that was the best thing that could have happened to him, because now I think that also opens up the door for growth in his mind. He's going to see where he was lacking, and now I think he's going to grow from that, from
Right.
this fight.
The biggest thing for me watching him before the Gastelum fight was I didn't know what his fortitude would be against, you know, a hard hitter, because
Yeah.
like I said, the middleweights can hit pretty hard. And Gastelum put it on him,
Yeah,
but
rocked him a couple times.
But he didn't go away.
Yeah.
So I think that showed
And
a
he
lot.
didn't run away either.
Right.
And, you know, there's
And he didn't
there's different
change-
types of running away.
He didn't
yeah.
change his game plan either. He knew
Yeah.
he was going to still be effective, and he still stuck with it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So-
that was his best win to date, and it showed. We knew already that he was a good fighter, but that showed how good.
Yeah, we have a great fighter in our midst, and 17-0 record. That doesn't happen by accident.
No.
And I can't see a loss in his near future. But there are still many, many middleweight fighters who are better than Gastelum. He's still
Right.
got to go up against Robert Whittaker.
Right.
I mean, I'd like to see how he would fare against what's that big dude, the one who fought for
Yoel Romero.
Yoel Romero. I'd like to see how he would fare against a guy of that size with that kind of power as well.
That kind of with an athleticism to match his own,
Yes.
but with the power beyond his. Yeah, I'd love
Correct.
to see what Israel would do
Because,
with that.
you know, he land a punch on
But
him,
I
it's going to be
think-
different.
But I still think Israel could pull that fight out too.
Oh, I do too. I don't think he would lose to the likes of, say his name again,
Yoel Romero.
Yoel
Yeah.
Romero. Yo, remember when Yoel Romero blasted Chris Weidman's
Oh my
forehead
gosh,
open?
that was terrible.
That was, oh man.
And
And that was like a timing situation. Like he was throwing the knee as Chris Weidman's thinking to go for the tackle.
He has that explosive athleticism.
Yeah.
That's something that Israel possesses as well. But I mean, Yoel's power is on another level.
A whole nother
So,
level. So that's gonna that would be an exciting fight to see before he faces Robert Whittaker. Maybe Yoel Romero. I would like to see that happen. The other problem with Yoel Romero is his gas tank. I don't
Right.
think, you know, if Israel can find a way to get it past the third round, you might have, you know, you might be able
Absolutely,
to pick him
because
apart.
he carries quite a bit of muscle at middleweight.
Mm-hmm.
But he's also, I don't know, certain things about Romero. He's a great fighter, but some of the things he's done in fights are a little.
Are you talking about the
shady.
sitting down
A little-
thing?
Yeah,
He
and
takes
the
his time.
covering himself with water so that they have to dry him off.
Yeah.
And, I mean, getting
does-
himself some extra rest.
Yeah.
I think it's. He's competed across the globe in many, many competitions, and he's got many tricks.
Yeah, exactly.
think.
It's not like these big, like, oh my God, suspend him type things. It's just like, come on, man, you're better than that.
And he's got a hilarious post-fight interview clip if anybody wants to look that up.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh,
Pretty fun.
that's awesome. I'm gonna have to look that one up. All right. So, was yours Israel Adesanya as
Yeah,
well?
it definitely is.
I didn't want to skip over. All right. So now on to arguably the best division in probably almost the entire time of UFC, at least dating back to the days of Chuck Liddell. You know, I don't know if you know this. I might have told you this. My first fight ever was the second fight against Chuck Liddell and
Tito Ortiz.
Tito Ortiz. What is going on today? Why am I blanking? I don't do this on my other show. You know it.
That
So
was a good one.
that was the first UFC fight I ever seen. And then after he wins that fight, Chuck Liddell beats Tito Ortiz, and then in the audience is Rampage Jackson with his big freaking chain on. And I remember them talking about how he was the only person to have ever beat Chuck Liddell
Yeah.
back in Pride, right? It was
Yeah.
Pride. Back in Pride, and I remember sitting there with the group of friends and being like, yo, that dude is going to eat Chuck Liddell
Oh, yeah.
alive. And everybody's like, nah, Chuck Liddell's the man. At this point, this is the first fight I've ever seen Chuck Liddell fight. I know people are saying that he's great. I know people are saying he can't be beat, but I'm not seeing that. I only
Yeah.
seen him beat this one dude. And so I'm like, nah, this dude's going to dominate him. And then that fight happened, and it was just crazy. And that was a crazy time, too, because it would, like, Chuck Liddell had held the belt for so long.
Oh gosh, he was the face of the UFC back in the day. He was one of the most dominant champs, the first real dominant champ
that there
to
ever was.
defend a belt over and over.
And then you get to a point where it's switches hands over and over again. Craziness. So my favorite fighter is going to be Bones Jones. Hands down, you just got to say it. You know, there's no fighter in the UFC, currently in the UFC, I think is even close to being comparable to his ability.
As you know, us being friends, that I wasn't
Yes.
always the biggest fan of Jones.
Correct.
You know, and had never had nothing to do with his fighting ability.
More about his character.
I always gave him his props as, you know, the most freakish athlete that the UFC has seen. He had came in and started winning after only a couple years of training. I
Yep.
mean,
3 years.
yeah, he went skyrocketed right to the top of the division.
Yep.
You know, and I got to say now, after all the trouble he went through and stuff, you know, he made a bunch of poor decisions, but you know, he was a young kid, ton of money,
Yep.
ton of fame.
Exactly. And all right away. It happened so fast for him.
Way too fast for anybody.
Yeah.
I mean, I'll never know what to do with something like that.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
I can't be
At his
so
age,
hard
too.
on him.
Yeah.
I was pretty hard on him because he was the biggest champ in the biggest show, and he was letting me
In
down.
a sport that you hold close to heart.
But now I have to say that I love his redemption story, honestly, because he's easy to get behind now. He's serious.
Yep.
He's not playing.
No, he's not.
You know?
And the fact that he can have such a layoff and go up against the likes of Alexander Gustafsson
Yes.
and put him away the way he did.
Far better than the first fight.
Way
I
better.
mean, that was incredible.
And
the win he had.
Gustafsson was better than his first
I
fight.
agree.
So it's not like he went up against the same guy. He went up against a better guy and dominated him even further.
But yeah, I wasn't a fan, but you know, because of his personal trouble. But now I'm a big fan of John Jones, and I'm glad he's doing well. And
Can't wait to see
I
what the
don't know
future
who
holds.
can beat him.
Well, he's going
I
up.
don't know.
You know what? I actually like this fight. Is who he's going to be fighting next. We won't talk too much about it, but I do like the guy with the Thor hammer on his chest.
No, I don't know.
You-
But we will talk.
We will
about
talk
it.
about that later. So since we can't think of his name, we're going to move
Yeah.
on. And move on to the heavyweight division, which ends up being like kind of the more fun division. You got big guys just trying to knock each other out. And to me, my favorite guy is the guy who has the most fun out there, and that's Derek Lewis.
He is
What a
lot
funny
of fun.
guy, man.
He is a lot of fun.
Complaining about needing to take poops.
Yeah.
And real quick, the only thing I'm going to say about Derek Lewis, my favorite thing, is when you bring Derek Lewis down, he's only down until he decides he wants to get back up.
Right.
And then that man turns and pushes his way up, takes you off of him, and gets back in that fighting stance.
I like him a lot. You could tell he's having a lot of fun out there, and he's almost can't believe that he's in the UFC. Like,
Yes. Like he's a guy who
how am
didn't
I doing-
expect this.
How am I doing this for a living?
Yeah.
You know, so I like that a lot. He's real humble. You know, Joe Rogan asked him about what he thought about a title shot, and he was like, you know, I need to do some cardio. I don't know what you're talking about. You need to sit my black ass down.
Right? Yeah.
But,
he doesn't take it so seriously, but you can tell that he trains to be serious.
Because he gets better and better. And it's great to see him in interviews. So it'd be great to see him up his skill level,
Yeah.
up his conditioning level, and compete with the best. I gotta talk about DC, because I love DC personally.
Can't
you
not
know.
talk about DC.
And I loved his battles with Jones, but he definitely should be a heavyweight.
Yep.
He always should have been a heavyweight.
Always should have
And,
been a heavyweight. And I think in the light heavyweight division is like, without Jones, Daniel Cormier is the best fighter in UFC.
Right, he could
With
still
Jones,
dominate
he's second
them.
best.
You know,
Yeah.
I thought it was something to see him be able to go into late rounds weighing in at 205, being
Yeah.
as big as he is. You
Yeah.
know, like that impressed me, him fighting light heavyweight, but he is a true heavyweight. And I don't know what you could do when the man smothers you and hold you and just beat you up. I mean, he wants to
Yeah, he
pressure
just-
you, put his body on
crazy.
you, and you just can't stop him.
And you look at Daniel Cormier and you're just like, nah, this dude ain't gonna do it.
No.
And then he comes in. Like, I feel like the most impressive victory to me was when he beat Rumble.
Yeah.
He took a kick to the face that would have taken down most fighters.
Yeah.
And he not only continued to fight, but then he smothered and took away Rumble's fight
And
plan.
I think I've seen that a lot in DC's career. His chin is no joke. You know, the kick that Jones beat him with, I mean, that would have knocked anybody
Yep.
out.
And I always say this,
And
man.
he almost stayed awake
Yeah,
from it.
I
you
mean,
know?
he tried to stay
Yeah.
composed and try to get away from that
Right.
situation, but like if you get hit on the button, you get hit on the button.
Right.
And
And
sometimes,
with a devastating kick like that, he
Yeah.
leaned right into it. There was
and he did lean into
there was
it.
nothing to do. He
No.
he was trying to catch the body kick, and it came up high instead, and it got him so bad. But nobody ever did as good against John Jones as him.
Nope,
Yeah.
not even. The closest was Gustafsson in the first fight, but we're talking about two different fighters at two different times.
Yeah.
And I mean, Daniel Cormier is just a legend.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, if he continues, and I don't know.
I don't
who
think
can
he has
take
many
him.
fights left in him
I don't
anyway.
know who's going to dethrone him either.
No.
But it's pretty cool to see who could be coming up as heavyweights too.
All right. So, with that being said, we gave you our fighters. We're almost overtime. So, what I want to do is a lightning round. We're going to go as fast as we can. We have an upcoming pay-per-view. We're going to give you the fights. We're going to give you our choices. And then